Hello, divine, messy humans, and welcome back to the podcast. If this is your first time joining us, thank you so much for honoring us with your time. Today, I wanted to talk to you about my understanding of spirituality, what it means to me. Maybe it'll resonate with you, and also why I don't call myself a light worker. So, firstly, spirituality. To me, spirituality is everything that I am. I am predominantly a divine being, a spiritual being, and so is everybody else. We are here as soul beings in physical bodies, having an experience of this realm, of this dimension. Spirituality for me, when I was younger, was tainted by religion. It was tainted by doctrine and dogma and the human aspect of religion. It was tainted by man's rules rather than the divine. It took me a lot of years to unpack God and to be able to even use that word when I was talking about that divine intelligence. For me, God had been hijacked, put up into a cloud, separated from us, given this long white beard, a dress, an agenda for a start. Let's face it, to me, divine intelligence is genderless. It just is what it is. Having this God separated from us and ruling over us in a power over structure didn't feel right to me. And it turned me away from my divinity for way too long. This idea that God is raining down fire and brimstone and punishes those who do wrong just doesn't sit right. It doesn't feel right in my bones. What does feel right for me is that our divine intelligence is that truly loving parent who understands that we as human beings have free will choice, that we are born perfect and pure, that we are born into these limited human bodies from an unlimited universe and from an unlimited soul. And that creates human experience. I believe that our God is completely loving, compassionate, empathic, and is there to hold us when we do wrong, when we err from that path of divinity. We have free will choice for a reason. Some of us use it well, some of us use it less well. But I believe we're all doing the best we can with the tools that we have available to us at the time. And the reason I say that is when we're in stress, we're in a different part of the brain. We can't access our creative thinking, our resourceful tools. We're going into the past to deal with current situations, and often it's taking us into childhood to deal with them. For me, a lot of people who go into the spiritual arts and the healing arts and alternative medicine, whatever you want to call it, that industry of light workers, I often find are spiritually bypassing what's going on in their life. This idea that everything is love and light and blessings and healing. Yes, it can be love and light and blessings and healings. And that light is often balanced out with shadows and shit and hard stuff. And we need to understand and look at the hard stuff to truly understand the light. And that's part of the reason I hate calling myself a light worker. I have been called that before, and I won't tell anyone off for using that term. But for me, it is about creating harmony between our shadows and our light. It is about honoring the totality of who and what we are. The fact that we are divine, messy humans, that we are here doing the best we can, often with limited tools and understanding. I feel deeply in myself that this denial of the dark stunts our growth. It's that Pollyanna-ish thinking that I don't believe gets us to the true beauty that is life. Some of the most awe-inspired and wonderful things I have experienced have come from some of my deepest, darkest pain, some of my deepest dark nights of the soul. Some of those have also been those things that have cracked me open to allow more light in where there once was black, inky darkness. So when I think about spirituality, it is the totality of our human existence. It is the totality of who and what we are. And this is why when I'm working with clients, I am not just looking at this wonderful life that people want to create. I am also getting them to go back into their past and learn to love those parts of themselves that they have cut off or denied or suppressed or repressed because of shame, embarrassment, guilt, any of those emotions that make them feel less than lovable, less than worthy, less than good enough. At what point do we see a little baby and realize then that they are not lovable? At what age does that happen? I haven't seen it in my own children. And when I look back at my life, when did I decide that I wasn't lovable, that I wasn't worthy, that I wasn't good enough? It came through different conditioning, whether that be from family or society or the church, wherever it came from. It actually doesn't matter. Everybody around me was doing the best they could. Everybody around me was using the tools that they had access to at the time. And now that we know different, we do different. I know that I've created trauma in my children through my own unresourceful behaviors. And whilst I'm not okay with that, I also am in a certain way because I know that I'm open to healing those wounds with my children when they are ready to look at them. I know that I've not been the perfect mother. And also, I need to give myself grace and compassion that I did not know better back then. Now that I know better, I try and do better. But I was swimming in that water, and so were they. You don't know you're wet until sometimes someone pulls you out of the water and you recognize what you've been doing. And for me, that's that spiritual path. That is that path of harmony working, of working with the light and dark within myself to be able to give myself grace and compassion for at one time being that parent who traumatized their children. And no parent, I don't believe anybody actually, wakes up in the morning and goes, you know what I'm going to do today? I'm going to cause havoc and hell and pain. Of course we don't. Our intentions are always good. We always intend to do the right thing. And if we end up in an argument, it certainly wasn't, I believe, our intention to get to that point. It often comes from those triggers and those activations. Now, in those moments whereby we do lose our temper or we are in that place of traumatizing another, I don't believe God is raining down punishment and fire and brimstone at us. I think he is looking at us lovingly like a child who's having a tantrum and saying that he's there for us when we are ready to look. We, as adults, can come to a peace within us about all those unresourceful behaviors. We can learn to love them. We can learn to love our own inner children who were just doing the best they could with the tools that they had available to them and the support they had available to them. And I guess this is what I mean. All of this for me encompasses spirituality. It's why when I'm working with business clients, we still talk about spirituality. We still talk about that connection to our spirit, to the truth of who we are at the depth of our soul. We talk about that because it matters. The more I bring my spirituality into every part of my life, the better those parts of my life become, the more connected I am, the more I see the divinity in everybody else around me, the more I can give them grace for their unresourceful behaviours. Because I've learned to give myself grace for my crappy and unresolved, unresourceful behaviours. And that to me is the perfection of this human experience. It is messy. Of course it is. We have all got things in our past, even if they're not what people call capital T traumas. We have many little t traumas. Those traumas are things that our body stores as less than nourishing and nurturing, which means that the overly critical parent can feel traumatizing if that's how you internalize it. Those overly critical partners, that constant berating because you're not doing well enough, you're not good enough, you're not enough. They are stored as in trauma. Because we then create stories around that. We train our brain to look for examples that back up those stories that were created in those moments. And that can feel really tough. And that often triggers, in moments where we don't intend to, those reactive patterns of unresourcefulness. And so I want to read a little bit from Divine Messy Human. Living a spiritual life isn't about denying reality and living in a world of only love and light, sunshine and roses, rainbows, unicorn farts and perfection. It is about accepting life and humanness in all its messy reality. The God I know and have experienced shows grace and acceptance, holds us in our darkness, and smiles at our light. They are the ever-loving, non-judgmental parent who wants what's best for us and loves us regardless. We cycle continuously through stages of learning. We birth new projects and events into the world and then move into the death cycle where things come to completion and we ready ourselves for the next cyclical movement. Humans are energy in motion. We are in a constant state of flux, balance and change. As we develop our spiritual nature and reconnect with our heart, soul and true self, we learn to honour the cycles, engage in greater alignment of our truth, and connect in deeper levels to those around us, universal consciousness and nature. The spiritual path is about embracing our light and our dark, positives and negatives, being honest with ourselves, and learning to love all aspects of ourselves without judgment. To bring the fullness of who and what we are as self into the fold of our humanity. Through my own personal experience of spirituality, I have found greater openness, honesty, and peace with self and others. I have come to a calm forgiveness for past hurts and, more importantly, have turned that forgiveness towards myself with compassion for doing the best I could in any given moment with the tools I had available to me at the time. During your journey, I ask you to make friends with your understanding of spirituality. I hope that in this you are able to look at your own idea of spirituality and what God, infinite wisdom, Mother Earth, whatever you want to call it, means to you, what that higher power is, that source energy that feeds us and nourishes us and loves us deeply, that we all connect to one another through with our own unique expression in this world of that divinity. So, thank you again for your time. I love you. I am grateful for you. And I look forward to having you join me next time on Divine Messy Human.